Hey everybody on here, and I hope my face isn't too dark in this video. I'm filming inside today, and there's just some other people walking around the property today, so I didn't want to be outside while I got this done. So anyways, that's what's going on. At least you can see the beautiful scenery behind me today, which is absolutely awesome. And we have a beautiful sunny day, even though it's cold here. And I'm going to enjoy taking advantage of that and getting out for a little bit, just because we have snow coming in all week. So, but very excited to be here. Very excited that the 2023 book I'm going to be starting work on this week. So that's exciting news as well. But I want to get into this month's video. In this month's video, I really want to address this aspect that seems to be coming up more for some people around me, and also just because it really fits in some ways with a lot of things that are going on in the codes right now. And that is a question that I get once in a while. You know, how do I go about putting my passion in motion, my mission in motion, my life's work? You know, how do I go about doing this, and how do I find it? And this is one of those things that, at least in my experiences, that it's something that unfolds. It's, you start in one place and then it unfolds along the way. So it's not like you just start at the very beginning and it's like, boom, this is it, and that's all there is. You'll start with maybe other pieces, and as you work with those pieces, you'll refine in, and there will be more and more that will show up along the way. So, for example, Jessie didn't just start in on the code journey work. I mean, she was doing some coaching. She pursued some interest in doing some readings for a while. There were all of these kind of little different avenues that she pursued along the way. And then through her journeys in the code journey work with Orly, then she came to unfold this wisdom and this understanding. And through that, she then realized that this was what she needed to really share with people. This was information, and as opposed to having to constantly be in appointments with people, constantly working in this more restrictive manner, this more unpredictable manner, something that hadn't 100% resonated for her. It was good, but it wasn't 100% for her. Then when she got into this work, she realized, okay, this is a way that I can share with the masses and reach a lot more people. This is a way that I can provide insights for people and help people in their lives even when I'm not with them. So this is where it really started to unfold. She also always had a passion for writing and for expressing things. And so this became the path that started to open up. And as she released that first edition of the Code Journey work back in 2018, then that just continued to progress. And she realized with each step along the way that this was her work. And I think that that's one of the things to keep in mind, is to don't get discouraged. Don't give up on something just because it's not unfolding. Sometimes you just got to go through a variety of different pieces before it just completely unlocks for you. Now, one of the things that people talk about is finding, muse, finding inspiration for doing this work. And I guess I should back up a little bit and talk about, the passion. When we talk about doing our passion, one of the big keys with doing your passion in the world is to step out of competition. You've got to step out of looking to what others are doing, and you've got to start seeing what is resonating inside of you and realizing that whatever your gift is, it's unique. Even if it parallels or is similar to other work, it's got your own twist, your own style on it. So there really is no competition that can be done. And this, I think, provides a lot of ease for people when they start to do this work. Now, the mission part of doing the work is really it's a sharing of experiences. So if you haven't gone out and gotten experiences in life, then that's going to be one of the first steps that you need to do, is to go out and get experiences. Because the mission part is about teaching, it's about sharing, it's about opening up. So you become in this space when you are doing your mission work, you are constantly learning and you are constantly sharing in your experiences. It's not I know everything and that's all there is and nothing else. No matter how much wisdom I have, no matter how many experiences I have, there are always more experiences, more wisdom for me to get. So I need to remain open to learning, because there may be a deeper layer that unfolds, a deeper piece that comes forward. And I think that that's a big key. And then when we look at the component of life's work is an aspect that's about relationships. It's about building successful relationships and focusing on those relationships that will support your success. So in some ways, that's kind of got a law of attraction principle, but it's also a unity principle. It's about realizing you're not alone, you will be supported in the work, and that there is some work to be done, and that it's not just about whatever you're producing or providing for the world, but it's the interactions that you're having that are valuable and important. And so when we bring those components together, what it does is it brings us in to find a work-life balance. Eventually, because a lot of times people will go and they'll just immerse so deeply in something, and then they're like, why do I not feel like I'm any better than I was before? Why do I still not feel like I have a life, or things like that? And it's not that people stop enjoying what they're doing, but there is a work component to it. And when we bring these components together, following passion, mission, and work, one of the things we want to keep in mind is, what can you handle on your own? And really realizing that, because the more you can handle whatever you're doing on your own and you're not reliant on other people, the more successful in a way that you're going to be, because you can always be working in your own flow. You can always be putting as much or as little into it. Now, that's not to say that we won't work with other people in some way or capacity. For example, if you don't have a certain skill set, you may hire a web person to do your web work, or you may hire a marketing person to do marketing, so that you don't have to worry about that. But that comes back to that mission, or that work piece, that life's work aspect of building the relationship. So you've got to have solid relationships around you, especially for anything that you're going to turn over. Now let's jump back to that piece about the inner muse, the inspiration. A lot of people, they think, I don't know where to find it. I don't know where to go for it. I don't know how to tap into my inner muse. Well, it's actually much easier than people think, but they tend to feel a bit inhibited about it, or they feel about lost in that process. And when we look at the component of the muse is really about stepping away from the external. It's getting connected with the internal. It's really about stepping away from the material side of things and getting into the spirit side of things. So you want to look at, what moves you from within, and doing that creative work. And these are pieces that are playing into our upcoming month here in March. And when we look at this is where our inspiration comes from. It doesn't come from outside of ourselves. It comes from going into sometimes a stillness, taking a look around and say, well, what's really needed? What do I believe is needed? What would I want to have in the world? What would I want to create in the world? And looking at, what do you feel you need for yourself, or what has been valuable for you and yourself? What are you abundant in? These are all components of where we find our inspiration from. And then you can go and you can look at where other people are being creative. But you yourself, we often will find turning to some form of the arts, not working by a formula. This opens the creativity. This works by the muse. this sort of observation of what's happening in the world and finding where is the spiritual piece in the material world. So you might go to an art fair, you might go to a concert, you might just listen to some live music that's going on someplace. And you might even just, create your own rhythm, which you can do with your own hands anywhere, right? Because we can just sit here and go. Something as simple as that starts to open the creative flow. Something as just basic as that, because it gets you to tune into your own rhythms, your own beats, your own drum, so to say. When we do these things, you can just sing. You can just, I'm not going to sing because I won't put you through that. But it's one of those pieces where you can just hum a tune, and it doesn't have to be a tune that you know. It's just a tune that comes out of you, whatever is flowing in the moment. And one time that might be faster, one time that might be slower. But a lot of times people will draw to certain rhythms or certain patterns. And this is where we really start to do it. And you might even get inspired just by going out in nature and seeing the sounds and the patterns and the movements of nature, of animals, of trees, of anything. So these are all ways to start to tap into your inner muse. Just do things without a formula. Be in exploration. One of the ways that I like to sometimes stimulate my inner muse is to just go for a drive. Go for a drive without a destination. I might have a certain point in mind, or I might just use a certain word or things like that, or I just go by my inner instinct. I go and I'll drive to a point, and when I hit an intersection, then, I'll just make a turn. And it's like, what appeals to me at that intersection, then that's the direction I go, and I just see what comes up, where I end up. Again, what inspires me, what draws me in. Make sure you have a full tank of gas if you're going to go do that. Those are some of the aspects. Just walking around even your neighborhood. If you're in a city, you could just take a little different route than normal. Of course, always be cautious, always balance that out. But I think that those are important things. Then we want to get into letting divine wisdom be your guide. Well, how do we do that? Well, divine wisdom, we always have that inner sense, right? That sort of conscience aspect. Our conscience is a way of helping us know if we're standing in that divine wisdom. But it's very basic principles. Does it allow you to be in kindness? Does it allow you to really work from who you are at your core? Is it being done in authenticity? Are you doing something for the sake of doing it or for the sake of money? Is there some way that you are bringing a benefit? And benefits happen in all different lives. It's not just, go out and do everything for free. It is an aspect of really doing something that is how do I say, brings assistance, kindness to people. If you have, something as simple as, well, I use it because it's winter time here, but, shoveling drives for people who are older. There are all kinds of things like that where there can be community things set up where donations can be made, or there might be layers. Like in my work, I have layers of things created where I have some aspects of my work that are free, and I have some aspects of my work that are paid for. And I have these different components where people can work live, but they can also work through the book. And so they can kind of work where they're at, what they need to do. And then those people who truly don't have the resources or the funds can come and still participate and still get a use out of the work, and to learn and to grow and to develop. And then some things I will keep them as paid things, because they're pieces that maybe I'm working with an individual instead of it being a group session that works at times that I've designated, I create an individual session with them, or coaching session, or a report, or things like that that might be very time consuming for me to do, like the personal year reports, things like that. So building in these layers also helps us to stand in divine wisdom. Is what you're doing, is it teaching people some sort of aspect of kindness, of living in the light, of working from the soul self, of standing in truth? These are all aspects of divine wisdom. And abundance, our inner abundance, is also one. How do we unfold that? How do we live life in a richer, fuller way that is fulfilling for us? So these are all components there. Then what I say too for people is, a lot of times people delve in and they tackle in way much, a lot more than what they can handle, because at the beginning it may not seem like much, but that 5, 10, 15-minute video that you're doing at the beginning, you think, oh, I could do one of those every day. And then, a couple of years down the line, it's like, wow, I'm really pushing to get one in a month. So you have to think of the scalability. You want to keep things simple. And even when you start to tackle the bigger pieces, I recommend that you break it down into small pieces. This is something that comes up in the codes, because we're also in these times where we have a lot of interruptions that can come up, a lot of unexpected things that can arise, that can come up. And so you want to take a look and say, how do I break this into smaller pieces? That way I'm always making progress. Because, if something takes 15 minutes to do, you're a lot more likely to do it and get it done than something that takes 8 or 10 hours to do, where you've really got to allot this huge amount of time, and you've got to have that full day, and you've got to be in the right headspace and all of these things. So the more you can break it down into smaller pieces, and this is one of the ways, again, that we can balance that work-life aspect and be responsible, meet our responsibilities, our obligations, and what needs to be done, and then open that door up and still have some time left over. So this way, pretty much you can handle anything and you're still feeling productive, you're still getting the work done in there. So that helps a lot. Then, and pieces that you can walk away from easily. That's not going to be the case with everything, but the more you can do that, you can. And these are good whether you're following your mission, your purpose, whether you're trying to create that in your life, or whether you are doing really anything. These are good principles to work with. Then you want to focus on what is simple, what is natural, what is timeless. And these components become very, very important, because when we make things really complicated, we think that the simple things don't have layers, or they're too simple. But what we're doing is we're scaling in flexibility. We're scaling in options for ourselves. We're scaling in the ability to have variety. So when you simplify something, then you can go down these different layers. Then you can go into adding pieces to it, or shifting it around very easily while still staying in your core passion or mission on things. So when things get really complicated, it can actually, and there's various ways and various thoughts. Sometimes, again, a lot of times the complicated stuff is what gets people to break down and not follow their passion, because it becomes too many pieces to work with. It becomes overwhelming. It becomes draining. And when you start to think about doing something, it's like, oh my God, there's so many pieces involved in it. But the simpler you keep something, the easier it is going to be to keep going with it. And so the more you can simplify something, the more you're going to get down to the cores that are really going to appeal to other people as well as yourself. And when you simplify things, what that does, it allows you to move with the times. On one hand, you've got this timeless component where you don't want it to just be a fad thing. But when you've kept things simple, again, there's so many layers in the simplicity, right? An apple is really, really simple. But when you look at the whole process of what created the apple, there's a lot of pieces to that. There's a lot of layers to that. There's a lot of things that went into creating that apple. So that's what I want you to think about when you're starting to delve into these things. And again, really with anything in life, we live in times where everything is so complicated and it's stressing the mind out and it's overreaching. And we don't want to simplify in the way of numbing ourselves, but to simplify in the way that we can grab it easily, that we can take hold of something quickly in a lot of ways. And yes, that may still require commitment and devotion and ongoing processes to work with it, but you simplify it in a way that your mind is not resisting it anymore. And that's what I try to do. If I can make my work simple, then it's going to be very easy for people to pick up and use. And that's what I've tried to do with the code journey work, is to keep the simplicity factor. Now, that being said, when you keep it simple, you can now scale in for trends and fashions and fads and things like that that are hot, are hot areas for people. So you have that ability to scale it around. And it's like different pieces. I was talking with a friend who does photography recently, and some of the ideas he was sharing about things of how he wants to do and bring in this educational component possibly to things. And I think it's a great idea. So if he was to do something like that, for example, 1 year he might focus on animals, and 1 year he might focus on plants, and 1 year he might focus on something else. And he, in his own unique style, then can bring into all these other components where he has experiences to share with people and ways that they might maybe connect with the spiritual or paths or processes that people take. There's so many options for him to go. And that's the great thing when we keep it simple. When we keep it natural, it's also going to connect us with our divine self. So that's important as well. So the natural, the simple, the timelessness, those things all touch the heart. They all open the heart space. And these are the things we find, the things that give us the greatest joys are very simple. They're natural things. They're cycles. They're sunrises, sunsets, things like this. Time with people. That doesn't matter what type of times we're living in, it's going to be applicable. And that is so key. This also allows for freedom. Again, flexibility. It gives us the chance to observe. And really, when we're trying to find something, observation is a powerful tool. We underestimate it. And observation isn't always just sitting still, but it's really taking a more in-depth, aware look at what is happening, what's going on, what is involved in the process, what's happening. When you stop it, if you really, for example, observe a bird and observe the flight, and when you really take the time to observe it, you actually come to understand that thing on deeper levels. And then you can take that understanding and that wisdom. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get a little bit of light here because I think my face is dark, but you can then take that and implement that into different things. So even when it's not something that's necessarily even totally connected to what you're doing, you might find that just sitting in observation for a while, you will unfold something that's connected to your work. You will unfold the way something works, an understanding of things. So that is a huge piece of things, and I just want to put that out there again. A lot of these things about following our passion, our mission, our life's work, they're destroyed by trying to do too much too fast and by complicating things. So keep simplifying. Things don't have to be complicated. And again, the simpler it is, the easier it's going to be for somebody else to connect with you. The easier it is, they're going to be able to pick up what you're sharing and what you're providing. And the more that they will resonate with it, because they're seeing the soul, they're seeing your own unique style, your own unique imprint on things. And most people are not looking really for a duplicate, a copy, the same thing over and over again. Most of the time, when people are really looking for something, they're looking for something different, something unique, because a lot of people on their journey, they've tried multiple things. And if those things haven't worked for them, then why would we repeat them? This is why our own peace. And when you are doing this work, when you're going out there, and it doesn't matter, again, whether it's your mission, your purpose, your life's work, or not, and you're just living life, you want to have your own imprint on things. You want to not compete. There's always going to be people who like you and people who don't. There's always going to be people who resonate with what you're doing and people who don't, and that's okay. We're not here to necessarily reach everybody. Like, my work will reach certain people, and then those people will take it, and my work will reach other people indirectly because of how the people who I am reaching are implementing it in their lives. And then that will impact how they're interacting with people and so on. So it has a cascading effect. My style is not for everybody. Some people want loud and boisterous and high energy people, and my energy is a little more softer and subdued a lot of times. It doesn't mean that I can't be in that other space too, but for the most part, I have a gentler energy about me. Not to be mistaken with passive or not doing things, but, you know, as they say, there's different ways that the divine manifests, and it can manifest in different ways at different points. So at some points in certain situations, I might be more boisterous, and in other situations, in a lot of situations, I'm actually just on the quieter side of life, so to say, that gentler side of life. But anyways, that's what it's about. That's the type of energy we're moving into. And I certainly hope this has been helpful, because as we head into the spring season here in the northern hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere goes into the fall season, they'll be reflecting more probably on their passions, or starting to toy with the ideas or do some research on it. And here in the spring, a lot of people are wanting to become more active. People naturally start to draw into doing things. So I think this is good timing for this, and I hope it's been helpful for you. Feel free to check out my work at compassioncodes.com and see what the code journey is all about. We have a lot going on. I'm very excited. Over the next couple of months, I'll be starting to put up venues and things like that I'll be. And with a little luck, I plan to be out on the road traveling again this year in summer. So hanging in there, putting that intention out there, and just hang in there. Don't give up, because there are always going to be work components in this process. And again, it's an ever unfolding process, and you want the ability for things to unfold in there. You can do it. I know you can. I'm totally supporting you in following your passion, your dreams, your life's work, your mission, whatever that is for you, and helping you to unfold more of what will benefit humanity and our earth and the world. Take care, everybody. See you soon.